All right, I think we're catching up here. StreamYards usually takes a minute or so until we connect to YouTube, so I'm just
All right.
waiting until that happens. This may or may not be on the end result after the live stream's over.
All right.
There we go. All right, we're live now. We are live. So what's up, everyone? Brand here from Bloody Breakdown. I'm of course being joined by Slasher Critic. This was his idea actually. He came to me and wanted to kind of just go over an entire franchise. I think we came up with Paranormal Activity, and I rewatched all six of them over the last it's been like a week and a half, I believe.
Yeah.
And you've actually watched them for the very first time.
Very first time. Yes. And yeah, it was a lot. Especially I try to cram in watching three of them in like one night, and I couldn't do it. Like I could only handle so much chairs getting pulled out, and loud bangs in the background. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot. But I will say, well, my favorite one out of the franchise was the Mark ones. What was your favorite one?
I hate to sound like this because I guess it's just cliche to say that you enjoyed the original the most, but I think it's probably a toss up between the first or third.
Yeah.
I did like those. Now, the first, for obvious reasons, it's kind of what sets the stage. It's where the ideas always start originally flowing from, and if you like that, then you get engaged with the franchise. Thereon. But I mean, yeah, it sounds cliche, but the first one, maybe the third one, I could toss a bone as being a contender.
Yeah, no, I mean, besides the Mark ones, like the first one was definitely good. I mean, that's where it all started. The third one too. The second one, I really didn't care for it too much, even the ending. But the third one was really good. The fourth one was horrible, I thought. And then the last one, what is it called? The Last Dimensions or whatever?
The Ghost Dimension.
Ghost Dimensions.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. I see why it was the last one that they've made for quite a while, when these were almost annual at one point.
Yeah. And I heard they're rebooting the franchise, of course, because that's what Hollywood does now. But yeah, no, the third one was good. My favorite scene in that one was the Bloody Mary scene, when he's babysitting the daughter, and they're in the mirror and they're playing Bloody Mary. That was really creepy. I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah. By the way, that reboot is coming March 19th, 2021, barring any kind of pushbacks or setbacks. That's the word now. So, I mean, a little less than a year away from it. And I'll be honest with you, and I guess we'll get into this as we go through these, but as my opinion goes, it probably should be a total reboot. I think
sure.
They've really written themselves into a corner, and I think that the plot holes become a bit wider as the series goes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if you want to, we can go ahead and start breaking these things down one by one and kind of just dive right into them.
Okay.
So first and foremost, obviously 2007 Paranormal Activity. This is not only a film that for the first time, I think Saw had that huge prolific run from 2004 up until around this point where they were the kings of Halloween.
Yes.
And every year at the movie theaters, you knew you would get another Saw film. And I think in a lot of ways, Paranormal Activity was the beginning of the end for that. The Saw franchise, I don't think could quite keep up in the early stages of Paranormal Activity and popularity. I think there was a definite trade-off there around October.
Yeah.
But this is also the one that kind of put Blumhouse on the map.
Yeah. Well, sure made them a lot of money. That's for sure.
For sure. And these found footage movies, I mean, if you can do them right, and I won't even say do them right. If your marketing campaign can pull the people in on this, like Blair Witch Project, for example, you can make a lot of money with very little being put into the project.
Yeah. Yeah, because the first one had a budget of, or it cost like 15,000 to make, and then it made over like 193 million dollars or something like that. So yeah, but I heard do you know who originally bought Paranormal Activity? Like what studio? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Because I heard that they that they wanted to like remake it, but then they're like, nah, let's just go ahead and use the footage that we got or whatever. And I mean, I'm glad they did, just because, like, yeah. Besides the Mark ones, the first one, I don't know, for only having two characters for the most part in the film, and have them carry the whole film like they did, is, you know, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. You gotta. I enjoy a film where there are limited scenery and characters, because if, like, once again, if it's done right, it's amazing. I look at Blair Witch Project again. You have three characters, the vast majority of the entire movie. You look at Saw, two characters in one room for the vast majority of the film.
Yeah.
There was even like a Ryan Reynolds movie. I think it was called Buried, where like 90% of the film is
Oh
him
yeah.
in a shallow grave.
Uh-huh.
If these movies work, they work really well.
Yeah.
And Paranormal Activity definitely was one of them. They also kind of went on with something I appreciate. Less is more. They never really show you anything. Now, as further we get into the series, obviously, the more you see of, you know, the demon or whatnot. But this one really was a good case of less is more.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you have an opinion on that? Do you think the whole less is more thing is valid, or do you think like modern audiences need to kind of be placated or something like that?
Well, for me, like, resorting back to Blair Witch, like, I always wanted to see the witch, you know, and so I would say I fall into the category of, like, I need to see more, you know, in my movies. But you probably fall what you just said, that you, like, you know, use it up to your imagination. Is that where you fall?
Depending on what it is.
Yeah.
If you're going for, like, for me, it's specifically found footage type films, because if you're going with this idea that this is real and this is footage that we found and we're presenting it to you, I think the more you start to show things, the more hokey it's going to look, in terms of, you know, this is being filmed on, you know, everyday camcorders. This isn't, you know, I don't know. I think the further you get into the films, like, there's a momentary brief pause of what Toby is supposed to look like, the demon, throughout the series. In the last one, and he kind of just looks like Sandman from Spider-Man or some shit.
Yeah.
So, stuff like that is when it bothers me. Like, if we're talking slashers, yeah, show me, you know.
Yeah.
But if it's found footage, I'm more of a less is more type guy.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, as far as Paranormal Activity, the original goes, it, like we say, it's pretty bare bones. It when it first came out, it was very reminiscent of the Blair Witch Project to me, even though there had been plenty between the two of them. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, I really enjoyed the first one. I thought that it felt real enough. Because it's really hard, I think, for any Hollywood studio to crank out a film that actually feels like people, how they would react and talk to each other in everyday life. But I think this one did a pretty decent job of it.
Yeah.
I did like the less is more type feel in this, where you kind of fill in the blanks on what's going on in a lot of times. But as far as I'm concerned, this one and the third one are my picks for the top of the franchise.
What was your favorite scene? And do you have any that stick out to you?
I like creative use of once again, you know, not to harp on the whole less is more thing, but, like, for example, the powder on the floor.
Yes,
I
that's
thought was
what I
a
was
really good move there to
Yeah.
show nothing but show something.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that was probably my favorite scene in the movie. I like how they sometimes they didn't do it that well, but I like how they tied every film together.
Yeah.
And I didn't think they was gonna do that for the marked ones, but somehow,
Same.
I mean, it didn't make any sense because the ending in marked ones contradicted the ending in the first one. But
Well,
yeah,
that's kind of what I get back to. Like the longer this thing goes, the cohesiveness starts to fall apart because that's what I really respect about it. And like even the first four. Well, I don't know. Maybe I guess we'll get to four in a minute. I have an issue with that one plot wise that I don't think was ever solved, but definitely the original three are very fluid and coherent.
yeah, and they all came out a year apart, correct?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe later on there may have been like a year or two in between, but like they're really
Okay.
close.
All right.
But yeah. Um, Strange Monkey Reviews in the chat says, have you guys ever heard of Paranormal Activity Tokyo Night, the Japanese sequel? I have heard of it, but I have never seen it.
Oh.
I really wouldn't. I can't say much about it. I saw it and it immediately like clicked in my mind. Like, okay, this is like when Krampus came out, and then all of these studios had these these Krampus films that they had previously released, and they were trying to fool everyone and throw them out there. Um, but yeah, I don't have much of a take on that one.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was just kind of a knockoff trying to capitalize on the success. But yeah, Strange Monkey, let me know, man. Is it any good, or are you trying to hurt us right now? Because you know I'm gonna probably watch that piece of shit now. So yeah, I mean the first one overall, I really don't have anything bad to say about the film. I think that you know, budget wise, it looked good for what it was. It made a whole lot of money, and in essence, it helped create not only a franchise but an entire company in Blumhouse, who is, I
Yeah.
mean, these guys are tearing up the horror scene now. Like,
Hell yeah, it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have really any horror movies coming out.
yeah, they kind of have been behind in a lot of ways this renaissance of horror in the last several years. I mean, like, and the money they made with Halloween, I'm really glad to see that, because that is going to let them know that they're definitely going to get a return on investment when they take these projects and do them right.
Yeah.
But I guess we can move on to the second one here. So this was Paranormal Activity 2, which is a sequel. It kind of puts you in the mind of, like, you know, once again, going back to Saw, Saw 3 and 4 end up happening simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And Paranormal Activity 2 seems to be the beginning of that, into it, and then in the end. It's almost it's like a prequel and a sequel and a during. I don't even know what you would call that, but it's all kind of wrapped up in this ball.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on the first sequel there?
Well, how old do you think the girl was? The daughter and Paranormal Activity 2.
The Allie character, I think her
Yeah.
name was. She looks like she's probably like 15, maybe 16 tops.
All right. Well, because I thought so too. And remember when they're playing the Ouija board and she had her boyfriend over, and he's like, yeah, and he spells out like pussy.
Yeah.
My thing was, like, if she is 16, 15, 16, that's like kind of fucked up of them to like put that in there. Because I mean, she was cute, don't get me wrong, but if she's only 16, then count me out. But
I kind of had that same moment where it's interesting what you can get away with even just 10 years ago, because I think this movie was made in 2010 or somewhere around in there, that if you did now, holy shit.
yeah.
You know, I'm writing a review for Cabin Fever right now, and I haven't watched it in at least 7 years.
Yeah.
And within like the first 20 minutes, I'm like, yeah, there's no way you could get away with any of this these days. Like, I think several characters are just called gay for no reason, and there's like an N-bomb in the first 10 minutes from this one country bumpkin. It's interesting when you look back, because at that point in time, society is at the point where it's like, okay, whatever. But now, things are a little bit more,
Heck yeah,
um,
they are.
yeah. So I think maybe that falls into that, but I felt that too whenever I was watching. Like that's a little strange.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I got from the second one is they should have never fired the nanny. They would have been way better off if they wouldn't have fired the nanny, because she was just trying to help him get rid of those demons. And, he was weirded out with her burning the sage or whatever, that he's like, you got to go. But, no, the second one was good. Like I said, the second one, that's when I started to get the whole, like, okay, this has been done, like, let's show me something I haven't seen. And
yeah, you can tell they try to up the ante just a tad, but I feel like the further you go, you're going to have to show something, and I think that's even in, like, it doesn't matter what franchise it is, things kind of have to go off onto a different route. I think they tried to up the ante a little bit, but for the most part, it's Paranormal Activity on steroids.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases, what you end up getting, I believe.
But I like, like I said earlier, I like the fact that they tied everything in. Like, Katie's sister this was her, like, her point of view, or her, her story, and it had more characters in it, so that was cool. But I don't know, like, it was, like I said, it was kind of just the same thing done over again. But I think the third one kind of, I don't know what it is about the third one that I really enjoyed. I think it was the characters. I think it was the lead male. I think he really sold it for me. I didn't mean to branch off and start talking about the third one, but because the third one was pretty much the same shit over again too. I mean, I had a couple other scenes with, like I said, the Bloody Mary scene was my favorite scene. That was just creepy as hell. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. It's like I said earlier, it's basically an amplified version of the first one, in my opinion. You kind of know what you're getting in for this time. It's not quite as vague. They try to start laying on a little bit heavier with the overarching story.
Yeah.
That the franchise is going to take on, and that's not uncommon. I think a lot of sequels tend to do that. I mean, you look at something like Halloween 2, where they all of a sudden it goes into, okay, he's pursuing family. Then you start launching the entire franchise from there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess when you do the whole less is more thing, and it rakes in big cash, and you have to do a sequel, or it's just fiscally irresponsible not to do a sequel, I think at that point you do kind of have to start giving a little bit more if you expect people to come back every sequel. And
True,
whether these guys were planning it or not, we're up to 6 now, with a 7th already probably in pre-production.
Yeah.
So 2, I think 2 probably is my only really big grievance with 2 is you really just end in the same place you ended in the first one, and you really don't progress too much in the overall story. I think there's more information given.
Yeah, for sure.
You kind of end up in the same place, which you would think would be an issue with me in 3, considering 3 is a prequel, and I have my own soapbox about prequels that are titled after the original, but that's neither here nor there.
Much. Yeah. No. Well, what do you think of the ending in the second one?
I feel like it was exactly how I feel about the entire movie. It was amped up. It was, we're gonna continue the overall formula, but we're gonna amp it up. We're gonna crank it up a notch, and it's instead of your male protagonist getting blasted across a room, you get a full on lift off the couch, neck break, and then you get another character blast across the room. So it's
I know it was so funny how she came in that room and she just like she just blasted her sister across the room.
The fucking Kamehameha, she shot her across the room with or whatever. Like,
hell yeah.
She Hadoukened her own flesh and blood. She was demon, you know. But I mean, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. But I'll say like one thing that I actually, you know, even care to see based on this movie and further sequels is the Allie character, because usually these movies kill off everyone except for children.
Yeah.
They kill off all the protagonists and they move on. Now there was a glimpse later on, I think, in the marked ones where you do see Allie again, but it's very brief. And I think that she might be somebody who you could have at the helm of this franchise if that's the direction they want to go in.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that disappointed me, is her character just kind of was very middling after that.
Yeah, she was away at fucking camp or some shit, right? It said.
Yeah.
But yeah, second one was all right. Like we both enjoyed the third one. I'm trying to. The ending in the third one was really good. But yeah, I like how he built that. He deboed her fan and made the camera tilt.
Oh yeah.
I'd be pissed because I need my fan.
Yeah, man, they were having to work. I think that maybe that's why I enjoyed the third one in some ways, because you're dealing with 80s technology after you've already had early 2000s technology in the first couple of films. So
yeah,
there is like, you know, you kind of have to find a way to be able to do certain things like that. I thought that the rotating camera was a really cool trick.
Yeah,
a really cool addition, because I know we're so used to seeing someone open a medicine cabinet or a refrigerator and close it, and maybe someone's back there, maybe they're not. But I thought it was really cool to have the rotating, oscillating in this circumstance camera going back and forth and kind of showing you, like, you know, it created a bit more tension. I think that was one of the reasons I really enjoyed the third one. And I'm not normally much of a prequel guy. I think prequels, while they may be fun, you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
To a degree. But I think they did a really good job with this one.
No, for sure. And it's cool how they went back to see Katie and what's her sister's name? Do you remember?
Christy,
yeah. You know, them as little girls or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And like I said, for me, it was I really like the main lead character. I don't know, just his personality, and his buddy was like, "Fuck this shit."
Yeah, he was in there during the whole Bloody Mary scene, so he kind of felt the full effect of it. And
yeah, he's like, "I'm done. We are no longer friends."
You got to respect those characters, man. And if you notice, those characters always survive because they are smart. Joel from Scream 2, the cameraman, he was like, "Nah, fuck this, I'm out." Like,
yeah,
I'll see you guys during the end credits, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I like the male protagonist from 3. The female protagonist was she was fine, but she got unbearable when it was just like, no, I'm not listening to any evidence that you have to present me that this is going on.
Yeah, just like, shut up and listen to him for a second.
Yeah,
that's women in a nutshell.
And for me, the original trilogy is a really, really well done, coherent piece of film. All 3 of them, they make sense. There's no really big glaring plot holes like you're going to start seeing after this one.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I don't want to say it should have ended there because I enjoyed the movies and maybe there is more to offer, but I think that they maybe went the wrong route after 3. So is there anything else you had to say about the third one while we're on the topic before we kind of jump off into
no, like talk more about the ending, I guess, like how he how the moms just cracked him in half. That was pretty vicious.
Yeah, this was the one that started introducing the concept of the coven also.
Yeah.
That and like I said, I thought that, you know, introducing new concepts in each film, 1, 2, and 3, that were good for that as well. But I think that as cool as some of the scenes were when the, you know, they're at the end, the characters opening doors and they're, you know, there's 10 over here, there's 20 at the back door. It's cool as that really looked. I think that is the beginning of the downfall of the series. Because once that coven got introduced, it almost became more about them than some of the main protagonists in the film. And it just, things started getting a little off the rails after that for me.
Yeah, I agree.
So as far as the fourth one goes, I have a big question that I've watched the fourth film probably 3 or 4 times in my entire life. And I'm going to ask you this. Maybe you can help me. Maybe I missed it. Maybe you picked it up. I don't know. Like I said, I've watched the movie almost a handful of times. So disregarding 3 because it came before the first one, the last thing we're at in the timeline is the end of Paranormal Activity 2.
Mm-hmm.
So why in the bluest of blue fucks in the next film is Hunter with an adopted family?
Yeah, that didn't make any fucking sense to me either.
Like, you know, and it later on in the series they start piling on. Like, it originally just started out as this demon needs the firstborn of this family, which happens to be Hunter.
Yeah.
Presumably Katie is possessed or under the influence of this demon at the end of the second film. Therefore, she would have the child.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm completely lost how the child ends up in, I guess, some kind of custody in foster home and ends up with this new family. And then we get a brand new child who we don't know who the hell he is. And apparently it is his job to get Hunter ready, as he says, to join the family. Yeah. For me, he's the best part of the whole damn movie.
Yeah.
Like, he was
really
so weird
little shit, though.
It's like he's got his own fork.
Yeah,
he comes over. Like,
that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would she need him to get adopted? Or I don't know. Yeah, that's why I didn't really like the fourth one, because it was a whole, nothing even happened. The only thing I can remember happening was when she was cutting up vegetables and the fork flew up in the air, like, ceiling, and then like a chair pulled out. But I was over it. There wasn't enough.
Other than that, honestly, it was shadows running by hallways and them messing around with the Xbox Connect.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
It seemed part 4 to me seemed kind of pointless. Like, you could have had this entire series, even went along with the marked ones in Ghost Dimension, and left 4 out, and nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest problem with it. There's no progress in the story.
No.
And it just seemed like a cash grab to me.
Yeah, no, and it's probably just rushed, and you know, they're probably high as shit, smoking weed. Like, you know, it'd be a really good idea. But even the ending in the fourth one, I didn't care for. And usually the ending in these films are supposed to be the best part.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I did not care for this one. I wanted to turn it off a couple times, but I was just like, fuck it, I'll get through it. But
same here. It's the first one I struggled through when watching these films, you know, all in order and somewhat success. You know, I think, like you said, we had like a week and a half or 2 weeks, you know, to watch these movies before we did this. But 4 was the first one I struggled through.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of guy, like, sometimes I can get through a plot hole by just, making things up in my head that sound reasonable and go
Yeah.
with the story. And like,
Yeah.
maybe that's on the cutting room floor somewhere. But
Yeah.
there's nothing that gives me any indication that this demon, would give this kid up, to DSS, or that, Katie would come to her senses for 10 seconds and leave it at a fire station or something. Like, there's nothing. I'm completely at a loss why this film exists. And
Yeah.
for me, the less said, the better about this one.
Yeah. Do you remember, doesn't Katie look like Casey Anthony? Do you remember Casey Anthony?
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice that when I was watching the film. So like, this bitch looks like, and it all ties in because she's all kidnapping and fucking and shit.
Oh man, and then the actress used her real name for this role too, so that's even better. Fantastic.
Oh,
yeah. Yes. I think they changed like the end of her last name. I think maybe her real name is like Featherstein, and they in the movie or something, and it's Featherstun. There's like a small change.
Yeah.
Something like that. But
I wonder if she was an actress before this, or they're like, yeah.
Yeah, she's got some IMDb credits. I don't recall for what, but yeah.
Oh, okay. But
so I mean, that's really all I have to say about the fourth one. If I go any further, I'll just end up getting mean.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
So as far as the marked one goes, this one I think the appearance in the trailer gave us the appearance of a reboot, which it really wasn't. But it's the first one that caught my eye as looking different than the first four.
Yeah.
In the trailer. And even in watching it, your cast is very different than what you've seen. Your surroundings. Yeah. I mean, you're used to, these very nice West Coast homes, and all of a sudden you're being put into like like the ghetto, for lack of a better term. So I like that. I thought it was a change of pace.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool to see some different cast members. They kind of hold true to the overall story. I think, once again, I think you could leave 4 out completely and just go right into the marked ones, knowing where the timeline is after you finish this film. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think I think it's probably better than the second one and the fourth one, in my opinion. Once again, new elements introduced, and my only issue with it, and the only reason it's an issue, and I'll admit, the first time I watched the movie, I thought it was really cool, but after seeing the ghost dimension, it kind of ruined it for me. Was the very end, going through this door or whatever and leading basically to the first film, the ending of the first film. Now, I'll say the reason I originally like that watching, because if you go back and watch the original, Katie does go downstairs, screams for no reason, or for reasons we're unaware, and down comes Micah. So as far as them putting something into place that matched up, going back, kind of working it in like a jigsaw puzzle piece, I enjoyed it. I thought it was overall pretty well done. What about you?
Well, for me, did it tie up then? Because I thought in the first one he got murdered in his bed, right?
Yeah, there was there's the last night, I forget what numbered night it was, but she gets up, she stares at him, she walks downstairs, lets out a blood curdling scream. He jumps up, rushes downstairs. You can hear a commotion, and then it gets quiet. And then all of a sudden you see him kind of come rushing towards the camera. So as far as like that time span of what happened, it makes sense. After that,
I guess it does. Okay.
Left up to the imagination, I guess, after a certain point. But
yeah,
I mean, like I said, I thought this was a pretty decent movie. I like there being the overarching storyline is there, but it's kind of a story unto itself.
There were so many, for me, like this movie, I was entertained the whole way through. There were so many cool scenes. Like when he was in the supermarket and that one dude was talking to his sister or cousin or whatever the hell, she was, and he's like, "You got a problem?" And then the store owner comes out with a baseball bat, and he tries hitting him, and he just grabs the baseball bat like Chuck Norris or some shit. And and the scene that upset me the most is when he was about to get laid, and he had to go get a condom, and that Oscar cock blocked him because he scared he scared the shit out of that chick because she was like, she heard that noise and she opened the latch, you know.
Yeah.
And he grabbed he grabbed her head and shit. She just took off like a bat out of hell. See, that's why I always carry condoms on me. Cause
yeah. where the hell was he going? Like where are you going to look for a rubber right now, dude?
I think he went upstairs to go to his house because remember they snuck in.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah. She was pretty. Yeah, she was good looking Latino. But
that should have been like the straw that broke the camel's back right there. At this point, when the demon starts cock blocking you, it's over, dude. Like it's time to fight back.
Hell yeah. And then it was pretty. Oscar, the guy that was possessed, his death scene was pretty cool because the camera was like on the car. He just like jumped from the fucking roof, whatever. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was for me probably one of the most memorable deaths in the whole franchise because I mean that one and the dude we were talking about earlier from the third one that kind of got Freddy versus Jason into like a U shape or whatever.
Yeah,
those two kind of stand out to me. Probably not the most iconic. I guess Micah's death is probably the most iconic in the franchise.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons, but yes, I have to agree. It felt. I really like it when a sequel can pull off feeling like it's a part of the series, but feeling fresh. And I think they did a pretty good job with that one in this.
Yeah.
Why do you think they stopped numbering them after 4? Do you think that movie sucked so bad they had like a marketing meeting come together and be like, okay, let's maybe stop numbering them? That'll solve the problem, right?
Well, who was it? I heard that it's a proven thing. Like once a franchise like gets up to like 5 or 6, people will stop going to the movie theater to watch them. You know what I mean? Because then people got to think like, oh, I got to watch 5 films.
Yeah.
Before I go, you know what I mean? I go see this movie. So I think that's why. I don't know for sure. But
it makes sense. It does. I mean, there's a lot of news right now coming out about Spyglass Media obtaining the Scream franchise, and if they're going to continue on with it, and it kind of falls into that territory. Even if they're going to continue numbering these. Yeah. I myself have a theory. It's not foolproof, but I'll say, I'll say in about 85% of horror franchises, the 5th entry is typically the weakest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you look back at like Halloween 5,
yeah,
that's fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the Dream Child, Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
No.
Saw 5 was weak to me.
Yeah. I was getting ready to name Hellraiser 5, but anything after the second Hellraiser was pretty lame.
And that's another thing. Spyglass Media Group, they have Scream, and they're working on a Hellraiser reboot or remake. Yeah. I'm not really sure which at this point, but I absolutely hope that this Hellraiser movie is decent because motherfucker, if any franchise needs a pick me up, it is that one. I mean, we've had 8 or 9 piss poor sequels back to back to back. So hopefully they'll do good with it.
I'm a big Hellraiser fan. I mean, I was looking forward to this. They announced it like a year ago, but nothing happened. But now I guess they're finally going through with it.
Yeah, that was it's fucking Harvey Weinstein's fault, man. He ruined a lot of shit for us horror fans.
Not just horror fans, but women in general.
Yeah. I mean, like Dimension. Holy shit! I recall a time when Dimension ran the horror world. So they had so many properties, and I mean, but you'll have that from time to time. I mean, look, when do you think you're going to get another Friday the 13th film? I mean, it's
that's so depressing.
dude, isn't it? We're in the 40th anniversary of the first film right now in this year, and
Yeah.
we're getting a box set, I believe. That's it. And I think the only thing that's really new are some new stuff from Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
So,
well, at least we got a lot of fan films that are coming out. Like the now they're getting ready to have Never Hike in the Snow.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for that one. They did a fantastic job with Never Hike Alone. Fantastic.
Hellraiser 1 and 2 for me are the only good ones. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I agree.
Wholeheartedly. I agree. Those two films are superb. But after you've got to be a fan of Hellraiser to even indulge anything that comes after the second one. Now, of course, I have all of them, but that's because I'm a fucking sap for the horror movie community. I'm gonna keep buying these sequels because I'm a completist.
I didn't think Judgment was too bad. I like the Auditor. That character was badass.
That's the best thing they've had going for them in quite some time.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely needs a reboot. Oh, I was getting ready to say, whenever a horror icon can talk, it's just better, I think, because we have so many mute killers out there that there's no personality.
It's the Michael Myers copy paste.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I love Jason, but I mean, come on, Michael Myers copy paste. A lot of the people that worked on the first movie admitted it, but it is what it is. You know what? It can work, but I feel like you're right. I feel like it was overdone a lot. Like, why is that the quality that all of these killers possess? Is it because you can just have a stunt man play him and he doesn't have to act? I mean,
no, for sure.
But I mean, so I guess we'll go ahead and talk about the final entry in the franchise, because this one for me, other than 4, has to be my least favorite. And of course we're talking about the Ghost Dimension, the last one up until this date, which, let me check, that one was released 5 years ago, 2015. So for me, I think it got really, really hokey with the ghost camera.
Yeah.
I don't see any way that they can support putting a ghost camera in this film. Am I to assume that the Witch's Coven, made a fucking camera that can see into another dimension, or that a demon manufactured a camera that can see into other dimensions? It gets really hokey.
Yeah.
I think I think it was probably like they thought it would be cool and different, and a different way to go in the franchise. I appreciate the fact that there is a lot of part 3. I'll be honest with you, the best thing about this film are the callbacks to the third one. And it is what it is, but I think at the end of the day, there's a reason they haven't made one of these again in 5 years.
Yeah.
I think it's the Ghost Dimension.
Yeah, it was terrible. And like I think of the priest. I had a hard time believing the priest in this one. He just looked fucking weird.
It looked like let's get someone that looks like a preacher that you would know from The Exorcist, or you would know from one of these exorcism movies. He didn't seem real.
Yeah, and he had blue jeans on.
Yeah.
So yeah. Even the ending in this one, and for me, I always look like one thing I look forward to in all these films is the ending. Like, it has to pay off, and I just don't think the ending in this one did anything for me.
No, and here for me, this is what tells me this is a bad movie. I watched them all in sequential order. Ghost Dimension obviously was the last one I watched. I remember more about every single one of them that came before it than I do this one.
Yeah.
Nothing really sticks with me.
No.
I think like the fucking the exorcism at the end of the film where they throw a rug over the demon or whatever. It's like, why are you putting so much CGI in a found footage film?
Yeah.
Like, I get you, at some point you have to give a little bit and start showing some things, but aren't there more creative ways? Like, go talk to the people involved in the Blair Witch Project, or go talk to the people involved earlier on in this franchise. There are more effective ways to show something, but not give it all away.
Yeah.
And the reason I say sometimes I'm cool with giving it all away, but in a found footage setting, it never looks right to me.
I agree. Yeah, this one just it didn't do it for me. This is probably, besides the fourth one, this is my weakest entry in the franchise.
Yeah, it's a toss up for me. For this one, maybe it may be this one.
Yeah, I honestly, I vaguely remember. Besides what I just talked about, what really took place in this film, it was weak. Yeah, like you said, there was a 1, 3 are the best. The second they started using Xbox Connect, and the fourth, the franchise was dead for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I can agree.
And then they, instead of using cameras, they just popped up laptops everywhere too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it's like, if I become a fan, like I would never say I was like a huge, like over the top fan of this franchise, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed, after I went and watched the first one, I was like, yeah, that's good. You've kind of hooked me a little bit for this. So
Yeah.
I'm along for the second one. I thought it was okay. Sequels are what they are sometimes. The third one was really good, I thought, kind of rejuvenated my interest in the franchise. They hit me with the fourth one, and it's just a steaming pile of shit. Marked ones gives me a slight bit more hope. It definitely picks it up at least to that part 2 level.
Yeah.
To where it climbs back up the ladder a little bit. And then they hit us with this one, and holy shit. I did not like seeing Toby as the Sandman in this one. I honestly never wanted to see too much of Toby, because it's a fucking demon, and you're doing a found footage film. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I just, this one, it was I'm hoping they do well with the next installment, but I'm glad no matter what, almost, because to leave off such a successful, at least in a financial sense, franchise with that, it's not good.
Yeah, I hope they just go a different direction. That's why, just because they beat the horse to death. I think.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. And like, my favorite franchise is the Halloween franchise, where they're literally working on parts 12 and 13 of this fucking franchise, and I'm still on board. Now, there have been some stinkers in there, like Halloween 5, Resurrection. I mean, there have been some movies that were damn near unwatchable, but their triumphs, their high moments are worth so much, and it's such a nostalgic film for me that I'm still on board.
Yeah.
So I think if they go the route of something like that is maybe more akin to the first one, I just don't know if they're gonna continue. I honestly wouldn't even continue the same story. I think the story is done. The demon has a human form now. If you want to do something with that, I don't see it being a Paranormal Activity film. You're dealing with flesh and blood, at least in some sense, at that point. So I'm with you. I think they have to reboot in this one. But I mean, have you heard if it's an overall reboot, or a remake, or?
If I can remember correctly, reading, I think they're gonna just reboot the franchise. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's it's one of those things where you get to a certain point, and I kind of think they've written themselves into a corner with this, where of course all horror franchises are doing big reboots, remakes, things of that nature, but a franchise that's somewhat new, comparatively speaking, to, like, say, a Halloween or whatever that they're working, Hellraiser, and even Scream, to a certain extent. Paranormal Activity came a decade after Scream.
Yeah.
So it's in a way, it's like, wow, you guys are really already having to reboot this thing. But I think that's what happens whenever you can spend what 15-30K on a movie and end up cranking back hundreds of millions.
I know. It's fucking crazy. What other franchises are you looking to get rebooted? Are you excited for, or do you think they need a reboot? You know what I'm sick of? Before
What's
you
that?
answer that,
What's that?
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. They have rebooted that franchise like 6 times, not 6 times, but like 3 times,
It's close, yeah.
and it's still some shit.
Oh man, I kind of have some similar feelings between the two franchises now that you bring it up, because like obviously the original Texas Chainsaw is fucking immaculate. I'm even a fan of the second one. I like the second one. I know some people not a big fan. I can even deal with the original Leatherface Texas Chainsaw 3. I can deal with it for what it is. I even like the fourth one, Next Generation. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I don't know why. I know it's horseshit, but I kind of enjoy it. I like the remake. It kind of started for me around the beginning. Like I know a lot of people are really big into the beginning. I think they like the brutality of it, but I wasn't a big fan. After that, it's kind of fallen off for me. I didn't like the Texas Chainsaw 3D. I didn't like Leatherface was it didn't even feel like a Texas Chainsaw movie to me.
Yeah. No.
So I'm with you on that one. If I mean, as far as like bringing something back that kind of needs to be rebooted, if you had asked me this question 4 months ago, I would have said Scream. But now we're getting something like that. Now, it's hard to say. I'm a big fan of a lot of the bigger franchises. I would say, you know, Friday the 13th, but I know that's going to drag on and drudge on through the courts as long as it possibly can. With Freddy, I'm at a crossroads because, you know, Robert Englund's, he said it out of his own mouth. He's too old to play the character.
Yeah.
And
us though.
Yeah. I mean, when we had the last one, Jackie Earl Haley, I believe was his name. I don't know if it was him or if it was the just overt CGI face and made him look like a herpy or something. But I wasn't feeling that one. So that's my fear about a lot of these is I would like to see them again on the big screen, just growing up with them. I'm nostalgic about them. You know, it's my favorite genre. But holy fuck, man, they worry me sometimes. Blumhouse worried me with Halloween, but you know, I think it turned out really well.
Yeah, I cannot wait for Halloween Kills, but I cannot wait for that to come out. Man, Halloween is my favorite franchise too, and I thought they did an amazing job with the newest film. Like
they did. Yeah. I think it's one of the best ones. Honestly, if I'm ranking those like other than the original, right up under it, it's either got to be 2, 4, or 2018.
Yeah. What do you think about the Rob Zombie?
I'll tell you, the original one he made, I think is watchable. I think it's okay. It's like you know what you're getting into. I would have rather him done Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. Honestly, I think that would have been perfect for Rob.
Yeah,
but I think he did an okay job with it. However, the second one, garbage, total. Yeah. I can't even, just absolute garbage.
I know. Whenever people tell me they really enjoy them, I'm like,
give me one sec, okay?
Yeah.
You can go ahead and keep talking about it for those watching, but give me like 10 seconds.
All right. So, guys, who's still on the chat? Yes, Halloween is my favorite franchise. What do you think of the 2018 Halloween? I absolutely loved it. It's top 10 favorite horror movies for sure.
Okay, I'm back. Thoughts on Halloween 4? Holy shit, you guys! Halloween 4 is fantastic. I don't care what anyone says. I'll defend it forever.
Yeah. Well, the Curse of Michael Myers, that has a special place in my heart. It's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Same. And once again, I know it's not good. I know it's not. Like, I've watched enough movies. I'm not saying, I'm some, I know exactly how cinema should be or whatever, but I have watched enough movies to know that either version you watch, whether it be theatrical or whether it be the producer's cut, have a lot of issues. But I'm right there with you. I'll be 33 years old this year. So around 1995, 96, when Scream came out and when Halloween Curse of Michael Myers came out, I was kind of in my formative years of watching horror.
Yeah.
So I feel you there.
Mistake Reaper said it was way better than the first and second one that Rob Zombie made. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, whenever people say that really, like, they absolutely love the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I'm like, oh, you must really not like horror then.
And that's the thing, like, Rob Zombie is so divisive in the horror community. Like, and I get, interestingly enough, I get both sides of the argument, because I don't give a shit what anyone says. The closing to The Devil's Rejects is a masterpiece.
Yes.
Freebird playing as they collide with the police, fucking gold. I love it. I love that whole movie. It's one of the few sequels I'll say definitely surpasses the original. But then you look at something like what was one of Halloween 2 or
Even Three from Hell.
The Lords of Salem or something. And you're just like, man, Rob, what the fuck? You're Rob Zombie is capable of making a really good horror film. He just doesn't always do it.
Yeah. I will say, though, I love the atmosphere in his horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, everyone feels like a threat.
Yeah.
Nobody really feels trustworthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like Sin says, yeah, Devil's Rejects a classic. But like, I talk to people who love the Devil's Rejects and have no idea what House of a Thousand Corpses is.
What?
Yeah, they have no clue. They've never heard of that one.
House of a Thousand Corpses. I
yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's on the good list of Rob's for myself as well.
For me, that's my top 10 horror movies. Like, I love it.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I mean, the reason I like House so much was because when it came out in 2003, we were in an era of like pretty much all horror was very PG.
Yeah.
It was very tame, comparatively speaking, to what we'd seen. People say in the 80s, but hell, I mean, even look into the 90s. I mean, there's some pretty gory horror films in the 90s, but the late 90s into the early 2000s, it had been so tame that when House came around, it really just turned everything on its head, I think.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I'm glad I'm done watching Paranormal Activity movies now.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you, like I said, when I sat down to watch them, I watched the first 3 and I'm like, man, I'm really glad I'm watching these again. I haven't seen them in a while. And then I kept going. Other than some gleaming moments in the marked ones, the second half, or I'll say the second trilogy in this film or in this series is, wow, it's not good. Not good at all. But I think overall, we got a new one coming out. I'm assuming Blumhouse is behind this one. I don't think they're going to give the rights up to this cash cow, which it could potentially still be up at any point. So around March of next year, about 11 months from now, if the C word virus, we can't say on YouTube because we'll get all punished for it. If that doesn't push things back even further, we're looking at about 11 months until the next one. So I don't know, maybe we can meet back up at that point and talk about that one and see where we go.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, real quick, why can't we say the C word?
They're actually going around in a lot of cases. Like, I don't have to worry about this because I haven't hit 1,000 subs on this channel yet. But there's some other channels that I work on where we pretty much the lifeblood is monetization in some shape, way, form, or fashion. And yeah, they did. People at YouTube don't exactly like you putting it in your tags and title, or even sometimes mentioning it.
Yeah, that's just weird.
It is. It's very weird. But yeah, I mean, It's YouTube. I mean, they've got us by the short and curlies. We really can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
At least in some communities, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Well, you know, the algorithms holding it all together while they're all at home right now because of the word that they don't want us to talk about. So yeah, man, I do have, like I said, this channel, we don't do a lot of live streaming on this channel. We'll probably get more views on this actually later on, because that's typically how, if I actually do end up having any kind of live streams, that's usually how it goes. But I do have the link to your YouTube channel and your Twitter link down below. So if anyone's interested in going and checking out the Slasher Critic, the links are down below. But I do let everybody who comes on here just kind of shill out your channel and what it is you do.
Yeah, and if you can subscribe, guys, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't already.
For sure.
Oh, I mean, my bad. I thought you were talking about people in the comments. No, I'm Chad from Slasher Critic. I review movies. I do unboxings, horror toy hunts, top 10 lists, all horror related, of course. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'm still at like 300 subs, so I'm finally starting to get that momentum, you know. But man, it took forever.
Oh, dude, it really does. It's cool though. This is I've been a part of many communities on YouTube, and I found the horror film community. I've found some really good people here. So yeah, definitely, everyone go check out Slasher Critic. Maybe we'll be doing some more stuff like this in the future. You know, maybe some streams kind of breaking down franchises, or maybe doing something different next time. Who knows? But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. And I guess we'll go ahead and wrap the thing up. If there's anything else you want to say, the floor is yours.
No, thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it, Brian.
Oh yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on. So thank you to everyone who watched and who will watch. Appreciate that. My links are all down below if you want to follow me or support what it is I do here. Slasher Critics links are all down below as well. So yeah, I guess that'll be about it. Thank you once again, Slasher Critic, and hopefully we'll be something like this again in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Oh yeah.